look at that city skyline. What's there to do down there? I'm like, nothing. It's not walkable.
Why do most North American downtowns suck? I'm gonna go inside this building and look down in my city of Chattanooga, Tennessee, and give you a few reasons or mental filters that you can use to sort of interpret what's wrong in your city as well. And even though I made a video about this back in February, I wanna give you a few different concepts of what makes a place lively downtown. The first is a sense of enclosure. When we feel the 3-to-1 ratio of width to height, we instinctively feel safer and let down our guard and have more pro-social behaviors. It's why we seek out places in Europe like this to vacation in. The second thing is entrance frequencies. Lots of little things to do for different types of people. With lots of different types of shops to go in and go out of that are busy at different types of day, it keeps that street lively and feeling good. If these were all bars, they'd only be busy at one time of day and dead during the rest of the day. If this was all one big business, it would be not as interesting because everyone would be there for one thing only. The third thing is eye-level interest. Think of the public realm downtown as the living room of the city, and eye-level interest as interesting things to look at. It could be architecture, ornamentation, design, window displays, public art, but things from the human perspective need to be good to look at. And the sort of last thing is connectivity to people. People either need to live in the vicinity or have safe ways in which to connect to this facility via delightful and safe bike paths or pedestrian paths. All right, let's go in the building and see what we see. So first, notice how this entire city block is just parking. This obliterates any sense of enclosure. Even if that feels like half of a corridor with interesting shops, this feels exposed. But notice that this block is mostly parked. Below me is mostly parked. Half of this block is parked. And then behind it is also parking, and a good portion of our downtown is just dedicated to parking. In fact, Chattanooga has more parking within a square mile of downtown than other car-centric cities like Dallas, Los Angeles, and Atlanta. This is forfeiting all types of enclosure or anything that would make us feel like spending time in that area. But buildings don't just give a sense of enclosure, they also give shade. Surface areas are much hotter than the shade, and it's making it less delightful to be there. But let's look at that second concept of entrance frequency. Without lots of little things to do for lots of different types of people, you're less likely to get people that come and stay a while. Now, with this entire city block being just one office building, and this one being an office building, and this being a parking lot, and that being a parking lot, you might come to that bar called the Pickle Barrel down there, but you are not tempted to do anything else in this area because it's so far away. In fact, most of our businesses on the ground floor don't offer anything other than that one business that the building is for. So this utility company, which takes up half a city block, gives you no reason to stay on that city block. Both of these compound into that problem I mentioned earlier with eye-level interest. But I want to go down to this street right here to show you a good example of a section of downtown. While we're walking there, I also want to make a point about how wide this road is downtown. Not only does width encourage speed, it discourages the interconnection of businesses on both sides of the street. In Donald Appleyard's famous study of 3 San Francisco streets, he showed how the low traffic street had more interpersonal connections across the street from them compared to the medium and high traffic street. The same can be deduced for business. One thing commercial investors look at when they're looking at property is something known as dwell time. The longer someone is likely to stay in the area, the more valuable the property is in that area. If people aren't willing to cross the street because it feels dangerous or like it's a separate area and disconnect, that reduces dwell time. Okay, let's take a look at the street that I love. Notice how despite having parking, there's lots of little shops. This is entrance frequency. It has that sense of enclosure with the building, and they even visually narrow the roads with these bump outs to slow down traffic. So again, most parking garages are just one thing. This parking garage is dozens of little things. Though it could do with some more natural shade, it does have it, and the building itself adds some shade. These lights give a sense of enclosure at night. Also, this alleyway over here, they created some enclosure with these umbrellas as sort of an art installation. You have a raised crosswalk to slow cars down, so some traffic calm. And these stores themselves act as eye-level entry, as well as some public art and sidewalk displays as well. The intersection is a different texture, and the cars come up to the level of the pedestrians, showing that this is a pedestrianized. And in fact, the way this street continues on here is level with the sidewalk, showing that this is a shared space between cars and pedestrians. Cars naturally drive slower in areas like this. The trees on this street help create a sense of enclosure, and these bollards enforce cars from taking too sharp of turns or invading pedestrian space. Now, this is a well-designed street, but it's missing that fourth component, which is connectivity. Not enough people live in downtown Chattanooga, in part because there's not enough spaces like this to sustain. And in order for a downtown to be a sustainable place to live, which by the way, you need people living there to create culture, your only option can't be the car. Because the more you create parking to make it convenient to live there, the more you create non-places like Houston in the 1970s. Cars disproportionately take up space, so to fill this with humans, you need this much parking. So people need other alternatives when they come to a downtown area. Just like you wouldn't dredge a river for an ocean liner, you would get a smaller form of transportation to bring in freight. So as places become more compact downtown, you should rely on more efficient and smaller forms of transportation. So without delightful and safe bike paths to bring people here on bike, and without enough people living here or communities that are within a walking distance, streets like this, though more lively than the other streets I showed you, are never going to reach their full potential. In fact, most of these businesses probably rely on the boom and bust of office workers coming into town or some sort of scheduled events or programming that bring people here. So again, what gives a place a sense of place is enclosure for safety, entrance frequency for practicality, eye-level interest for delightfulness, and connectivity for sustainability. Overly wide thoroughfares and parking obliterate these things, and it's pre-existing policies that we could do away with them that could help undo that. For example, most cities have parking mandates or parking minimums. A certain amount of parking you have to have in order to build downtown. Not only should this be undone, it should probably be reversed with parking maximum. Most cities are working on optimizing their street lights and widening as many lanes as they can to make downtown a convenient place to pass through. But your downtown should be a destination, a place at which to arrive at. And not only should we look at reducing some of the lanes, we should look at which streets downtown deserve to be completely car-free. And we can test this out by trying it a few weekends in the summer before closing it down for the entire summer, or perhaps the entire year. These streets tend to do better for business, which is important because our downtowns disproportionately bring in the revenue for the city. Okay, if you're still watching this, please comment that you saw it all the way through so I can give you a gold star.